What's going on, guys? Welcome to this very special video featuring me, the TNA General, Isaac Rockman. Guys, today I'm going to talk about something that I've wanted to discuss for the last couple of weeks. I've wanted to make a video about this for a while, but I've just been pretty busy and I haven't really gotten around to it. I was planning on bringing a guest or two for this video, but I decided it's better if I do it solo. This is a topic I want to discuss, and I think I'm going to bring very good and very valid arguments to what I have to say, and you people decide whether you agree or disagree with what I have to say. But basically, I think that 2016 has been a phenomenal year for Impact Wrestling. You know, a lot of people are trashing TNA consistently on, wrestling groups, on the internet, on Twitter, whatever it may be. I kind of understand that TNA has this bad reputation it's earned over a while, and honestly, I feel like a lot of that isn't even warranted. I feel like people disagreed with certain things that happened in the company, and therefore they personally do not like the way the company was operating, but they somehow made it that TNA was at fault. Did TNA make mistakes? Absolutely. They let go of some good talent. They may not have had the best business ideas at certain points, but I feel like 2016 is a really big turning point for TNA, and that's what I'm going to be discussing in today's video. This video is titled, Why You Should Be Watching TNA Impact Wrestling in 2016. And I, the TNA General, will give you a few reasons why I, personally, am watching TNA currently. So, as you guys know, I've been watching TNA Impact since early 2007. I wish I knew about it earlier. If I knew about it earlier, I would have been watching earlier, but I only discovered it in 2007. And I really liked the company. At the time, there were guys like Eric Young, Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels. There's a lot of good people that were there at the time that were up-and-comers, if you will. And then you had the veterans like Sting, Kurt Angle, Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner, Booker T. These were all people that I grew up watching in the Attitude Era, in WCW. So when I found out that guys like Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner, Sting were in TNA, I said, what is this TNA and why haven't I heard about it till now? And I started watching TNA at that point, and I enjoyed it because, first of all, you have the six-sided ring. It gives a whole different feel to the product. And I felt like TNA did things differently. TNA has always been a little ghetto in a sense that WWE has these finances to produce everything beautifully, but obviously TNA doesn't have those finances. But I always thought that was kind of the part of a charm. Like if you're watching a horror movie, such as the Blair Witch Project or VHS, and it's a low-budget horror movie, people make crap on it for being low budget, but at the same time, the low budget brings a certain feel that cannot be emulated when you throw a lot of money into production values. And I always like that about TNA. I like that there has to be a professional feel to the show, but I also like it if it's a little bit low budget. It gives it more of a raw feel, and I enjoy that about the product. So that aspect has been there pretty much the entire time. And I like that TNA was doing some things differently. They had a female referee, Taryn Terrell, who later became Knockouts champion. That was a whole good storyline they did. And I always felt that their storylines were really good, compared to the WWE. Now, the last 2 years of the WWE, I think, has been absolutely awful. It's been a steady decline, and the ratings back up what I say. You fanboys that enjoy the flippity-floppity bullshit, and the little guys, and the quote-unquote 5-star matches, you're going to disagree with what I have to say because you have your opinion. That's how you see it. You personally like that style of wrestling, and you think that this is how wrestling should be. But unfortunately, we lived in a capitalist society where everything is dictated by numbers, dollars, ratings. And unfortunately, people are just not interested. The casual masses are no longer interested in the style of wrestling that WWE is providing. They just had their lowest rating in 20 years. And people are always going to have the excuse, oh, there's DVR, oh, people watching it on their tablets, on their Androids, whatever. Guys, every show that is currently on TV, whether it's The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, every show that is currently on TV can use the same excuse. Literally. I mean, you have DVR, you have TiVo, there's torrent websites. You can just download Game of Thrones a couple of hours after it's released. So any company, any movie company, anyone that's manufacturing and producing anything can use the same argument that Raw's using. Problem is, shows like Game of Thrones get 9 million viewers, while Raw is getting 2 million viewers and less. And they're just going to drop more and more. I predict that now with football season starting, they're going to do under a 1.5 rating in a couple of weeks. That's my prediction. That's how I see it happening. But I digress. Let's talk about TNA and the things that TNA are doing well in 2016. So I feel like after Slammiversary, TNA has been on the upswing. First of all, as you guys all know, a lot of former TNA talent, people that I mentioned earlier, Eric Young, Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, we all know they left. They went to the WWE. And good for them. They wanted to leave. They wanted to make more money. Good for them. There's no problem in that. But when TNA was on Destination America and these people started leaving little by little and everyone had their doom and gloom theories that that's it, TNA is going under, everyone's leaving, I was a little concerned at that point. I was genuinely worried. But at the same time, when TNA moved over to Pop, they started bringing in new talent. They brought in Drew Galloway. They started focusing more on Lashley as a heel. They started building other guys like the DK. Abyss was stale. Abyss was doing nothing for years. And they reinvented it by putting Abyss, the veteran, with Crazy Steve, who never even spoke up until that point, with Rosemary, who they got from the Indies. They did this whole gimmick for them, and you guys know that the DK are over as hell right now. And that all has to do with storytelling, character development, the fact that people can invest in the story. But I'll get to that in a little bit. So there was a little bit of a dark period for TNA. I would say 2014, early 2015. It was kind of a dark period. But then towards the end of 2015, when they got on Pop TV, and especially after Slammiversary, they've just been developing storylines for nearly everybody on the roster. You can't compare a show like Monday Night Raw and Impact, the way it's currently running, and say that Raw focuses on storylines. You can't, because it's all exhibition matches. Neville comes out, he has a match with Sami Zayn. There's no stakes whatsoever. There's no storyline behind it. The whole storyline for every match is, I'm a better wrestler than you. I can beat you. You're a coward. I'm going to win. It's cliche as hell. I mean, come on, guys. A lot of these people on these wrestling groups, you've been watching wrestling for 15, 20 years. You can still get excited by this stuff. You still get entertained by, a guy doing a dive through the middle rope. I mean, how many times can you see the same shit? It's 2016. Wrestling needs to catch up to the year. And that is what Impact is doing. And I got to say, Lucha Underground was doing it first. I may not be watching Lucha Underground currently, but I did watch the first season. And say what you will, whether you like it or not, they did something different. They innovated the product, because now other companies are going to have to do similar stuff if they want to get noticed. Because what are you going to notice? What is a casual viewer going to notice? Some amazing cinematography and great over-the-top storylines, or a fake 5-star match between Sami Zayn and Owens that has no meaning whatsoever. A casual audience is going to shift towards a show that's doing something different, something unique. Wrestling in this day and age kind of has a stigma as well. I mean, you have the wrestling diehards, and then you have the casuals that don't give a shit about wrestling. Back in the Attitude Era, it was different. All the college campuses had wrestling. Everyone was watching wrestling. Adults were watching wrestling. It was the hottest thing on TV because you had to come back every week to see what's going to happen. It was entertaining. It was crazy. It was fast-paced. And I'm not talking about the in-ring action, because statistically speaking, in-ring action doesn't draw money. But now TNA, they've been focusing on storylines. Literally, there's people in TNA that, 7, 8 months ago, I could tell you I didn't give a shit about these people, but now I care about them. 7, 8 months ago, I didn't really care about the Hardys that much. Yeah, they're the Hardy Boys. They have their legacy. But, they really didn't do much with them. They're going for the tag team titles, and whatever. I didn't care that much because I've seen it. But now that the Hardys have this whole gimmick, this whole broken storyline, and keep in mind, this has been a long-running story. About 6, 7 months now. Because this started when the Hardys were going after the tag team titles, and they won the tag team titles. And then Jeff, as a shoot, got injured in the dirt bike accident that he had. And they stripped him off the titles because he was going to be out for a couple of months. And they turned it into a storyline. Matt Hardy was upset. There was friction between the two of them. And he kept going for months. It was subtle, but it was there. And I appreciate subtleties. So That happens, and then Matt Hardy's gunning for the heavyweight title, and he wins it with underhanded tactics in the end. He turns heel and does the whole big money Matt character. And, then he got in a feud with Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Hardy nearly puts him out of action, permanently injuring him. All part of a storyline, of course. But they follow that up with the broken Matt Hardy character. And I remember the first week it came out. I remember when they did that thing with Jeff Hardy coming to Matt's house, and he's playing the piano, and he's looking up at him. I knew you'd come. And, then they went to the wrestling ring, and Rebby came in through that fake Maxwell baby at Jeff Hardy. People were saying it was the worst thing ever. People were shitting on it. But at that point, I was already defending it and saying, listen, this is going to lead to bigger things. It may be cheesy as hell. It may be over the top, exaggerated, but it's supposed to be that way. Wrestling is supposed to be entertaining. Wrestling is not a sport. You fanboys need to understand that. A sport is something like basketball, football, hell, even MMA and boxing, because they are not predetermined. Do you understand that? A sport cannot be predetermined. If there is a predetermined winner, it is not a sport by definition. Wrestling is not a sport. The only wrestling that's a sport is Olympic-style wrestling. That is a sport because it's not predetermined. Pro wrestling, WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan, all that stuff is not a sport. It's sports entertainment. Think of it as athletic theater, which is what it was, originally. But then the WWE got this idea to go in this sports route, I guess to cash in on the whole MMA hype that's been happening. And they're trying to present themselves as more of a sport, and ESPN is covering them now, and good for them, even though I think it's ridiculous that they're covering something that's predetermined, but okay. And people are treating it like a sport. People are going there and they're waiting for the high spots, and ooh, look at that move, it was crazy. But what happened to the storytelling? The basic fundamental element, storytelling like Hulk Hogan used to do. The days of Macho Man Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, The Rock, Austin. Grand storytelling on an epic scale. It doesn't exist anymore. But it does in TNA, and that's the reason you should be watching TNA. Because the WWE, there's nothing going right now. Nothing. I stopped watching since Extreme Rules. What's it been, 4 or 5 months? I stopped watching. I still know what happens because I'm part of a few wrestling groups and people are talking about things. So I more or less know what's going on. But from what I'm reading, I'm happy I stopped watching. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of 3 hours. When I'm watching Impact for 2 hours, that's first plus. It's a 2-hour show. It's easy to digest. I'm watching a 2-hour show. There's literally something happening in every single segment. It all connects. There's a flow to the show. Meaning, if the show starts with Lashley and Bennett in the ring, and they got some friction, some feud going between them, when they go to commercial break and come back, it's not just going to go to the next segment, the next match. They're going to follow up on that. You're going to see him backstage. You're going to see Bennett doing something. You're going to see Lashley. You're going to see multiple segments throughout the night, not just one. In WWE, you're lucky if you get one follow-up segment in the backstage, back in the ring, out of the arena. Hell, they don't even go out of the arena. Look at what Impact's been doing. They've been recording stuff outside of the arena. They've been recording stuff in empty arenas. They've been doing things differently. They've been innovating the whole game. I mean, you look at that press conference that Lashley had with EC3 2 weeks back. It was amazing. And people that are crapping on Lashley, you clearly haven't watched Impact in the last couple of months because you would know that Lashley right now is at the peak of his career. He owns the freaking mic every time he picks it up. He's went from being horrible on the mic like Lesnar, and Lesnar's still horrible on the mic. So he went from that to being one of the most charismatic, natural, organic badasses on the mic. He owns it. And if you disagree with me, watch the press conference. It's on Impact's YouTube. Go watch the press conference with Lashley and EC3. He owns the mic. EC3, another TNA creation. And yes, I know he was in NXT for a brief period of time. But what did he do there? He was just another guy, just another face. WWE may have the money to hire all these people from New Japan and Ring of Honor and former TNA guys and indie guys. They have that money to throw around. But the thing is, what do they do with these talents when they come into the company? Nothing. They do nothing with them. Look at all the NXT guys that went up to Raw and SmackDown in the last couple of months when the brand split started. Baron Corbin, Vaudevillains, Apollo Crews. They did nothing with those people. Baron Corbin, bro, I would love to have Baron Corbin in TNA. Endless possibilities. The guy has the look, he has the attitude, he's a badass, and he's a fucking ass kicker. I would love to have Baron Corbin in TNA because they would utilize him well. The fact that he's just another guy on the roster, are you kidding me? But you're going to push somebody like a Finn Balor, who literally has zero charisma, no personality, nothing unique about him other than the fact that he puts on face paint. It's been done before. It's been done better. And the people that put on face paint other than you actually have characters to go with that. You have no character. He comes out as the demon. He does his whole thing. The music's phenomenal. I love his music. And he comes out. He does the whole thing. It's amazing. But then when the bell rings, he wrestles like Finn Balor. He doesn't wrestle like the demon. He wrestles the same as he does as Finn Balor. There's nothing. There's no character there. It's face paint and a cool entrance. That's it. So that's all I gotta say. Look at how TNA's booking guys. Almost every person on the show has a meaning. He's there for a reason. DK, Hardys, they've been building both these, let's call them supernatural factions over the last couple of months, and they've both kind of stayed on their own path, but now their paths have finally crossed, and they're doing such fucking amazing storytelling. I can't wait to watch Impact so I can see what's going to happen next in the Hardy saga. The Hardys now are more relevant than they've ever been in their entire career. And anyone saying otherwise is an idiot and a mark. Because Matt Hardy chants are being chanted at WWE events. You never heard that ever before. That's something new. When I went to the indie show House of Glory a month ago, everyone was chanting delete, delete, obsolete. Even when we left the venue, there was 4,000 people there. We're chanting and yelling in the streets. That's how over they are. That's what happens when you have a character. Why should I care about Sami Zayn? He's a good wrestler. Okay, big whoop. Hundreds of thousands of people have been good wrestlers. Why should I care about Sami Zayn? What stands out about him? He looks plain, average. Same thing with Kevin Owens. The one thing I'll give Kevin Owens is that he actually can be entertaining on the mic at certain points. So I will give him that. But at the same time, average-looking guy, nothing special, inconsistency in character. And that's not really on Owens. That's on creative. They have piss-poor creative. Look who's writing TNA right now. Billy Corgan's writing TNA. He's responsible for DK. That was his baby. And that's when he had minority shares in the company. He had no pull. But they said, take DK and run with it. And look what's happened now. Look at the whole Hardy saga, DK saga. Phenomenal stuff. All thanks to TNA Creative, Billy Corgan. Look at Lashley. He's doing the best work of his career right now. He's the most credible, legitimate badass in the business right now. No ifs, ands, or buts. No one comes close. EC3, he was one of the top heels in the company, and he organically turned babyface because people just started cheering for the guy. He's a cool heel, he's relatable, and people started cheering for the guy, and now he's one of the top baby faces, one of the faces of TNA. Mike Bennett, bro. I didn't know who Mike Bennett was until he came to TNA. I never seen his stuff in Ring of Honor. And his act may be cheesy and over the top, but it's wrestling. It's supposed to be fun and entertaining. I like taking a couple of hits from my joint. I like drinking my beer. I like having a buzz while watching wrestling. I don't take it seriously. People take wrestling way too seriously. You got to enjoy it and chill with it. You have to be able to laugh at it. So Bennett, he comes in. He's a little corny with his whole gimmick that he's doing, the whole miracle gimmick. But it grew on me because the guy's entertaining. He's good on the mic. And they have him doing different things, variety of things. And he has these underhanded tactics. When they compare the Mike Bennett heel run to the Seth Rollins heel run when he was a champ, his heel run was a joke, same cliche every week. Bennett does it better. Watch the product and then judge. People are going to shit on TNA without even watching the damn thing. Watch it, and then you have the right to judge it. Bennett is doing amazing things, as is Maria. And, people hate Maria. Even on TNA fan pages that I'm a part of, people hate Maria. And I'm here thinking, aren't you supposed to hate heels? When Roddy Piper was a heel back in the day, they had to take him, from a different section of the arena to get him to his car safely. Same thing with King Kong Bundy and other heels, NWO back in the day. That's what a heel's supposed to be, and people genuinely hate her. TNA fans genuinely hate Maria, and that's a good thing. You're supposed to hate a heel. Bennett brought in Moose. I didn't know who the hell Moose was 3 months ago. I didn't know who the hell the guy was. He has the look. He's good on the mic as well. Very aggressive, very physical. That's how I like wrestling to be, like a fight. And they have a continuous storyline. He came in with Bennett. They're taking over. Now there is dissension between the two of them. You don't know who Moose is going to side with. Then you find out. And then there's a backstab. And then there's another turn. And they're going with the storyline week to week. WWE doesn't continue, other than their World Heavyweight title, whatever the main title is, all the other feuds, all the mid-card, lower card, nothing. They're just throwaway matches. Meaningless. Look at what's the most over thing in WWE right now is Heath Slater and Rhino. Why? Because they went outside of the arena. They did things differently. There's storylines. There's characters. You're seeing Heath Slater's kids and family in the trailer. It's funny. It's entertaining. Rhino's running for political office. So this shit's entertaining. You know, take that and compare it against a Neville Zayn match. Which one are you going to watch? It's that simple. Eli Drake. Eli Drake originally came in as one of Galloway's lackeys. And I knew who Galloway was from the beginning because I knew him from the WWE. So I've always been a fan of Drew Galloway. But I didn't care about this Eli Drake guy. I'm like, he's an average-looking dude. I don't give a shit about him. Or Micah. That was the other guy they brought in. But you know what? Over the past few months, he's developed a whole personality. Dummy, yeah. He's got the whole backstage segments that are super entertaining. And I can't get enough of Eli Drake. He's entertaining as hell. He reminds me of a young Rock. The way he talks, the way he presents himself. That confidence, that cockiness. And he's the heel, but you want to cheer for him because he's funny, entertaining at the same time. But, you know, that's another guy. Even look at the guys in the lower card. Jesse Goddard's, DJZ. You know, they're giving these guys vignettes. They're letting them talk. You're getting to see a little bit of them. Helms Dynasty, they got to focus on them a little more. But I got to see what Trevor Lee could say on a mic, and he impressed the hell out of me. I didn't know he was capable of that. The guy's great. You have Braxton Sutter, who him and Rockstar Spud have been doing this feud now, and they just had a match, empty arena match, which was crazy. It was absolutely nuts. You got to watch it. It was on this past week's Impact. And the knockouts. What's the storyline in the WWE's Divas division? What's the storyline? They're fighting for a belt. That's the whole storyline. Compare that to Impact, the knockouts. You got Allie, who's Maria's assistant. Maria helped Sienna win the title because she hates Jade. She doesn't want Jade to win. She doesn't want Gail Kim to win either. She's got a side feud with Gail Kim. So now Gail Kim comes into the picture once Jade got out of the picture. And you had Sienna running the show as the champ for a little bit. She lost the belt by accident to Allie. If you watch the show, you'll know what I'm talking about. And Allie's playing a ditzy kind of character, and the crowd's really into her. And she's pretending like she doesn't know how to wrestle. She won via fluke, got backstabbed by Maria the week afterwards. And, you know, they're doing this continuous storyline. And like I said, it's not that they're just continuing it week to week. There's literally threading throughout the show. I enjoy writing, and I enjoy reading. I know a lot about storytelling. That's what I do. That's what I'm all about. I'm all about storytelling and character development. There's a very, very basic premise when you're writing a story. It's called threading, meaning dragging the show along on a thread. You know, if you want somebody to care about the main event, you don't just announce the main event, and then you don't see these guys for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then they come out. You got to thread it. You got to have confrontations in the backstage. Then have one of the participants talk to the GM. I don't know, do something. There's got to be threading, storylines. That's why if you watch the broken brilliance of the Hardys and DK now, you get to see they put in like 5 vignettes in the middle of the show, each one a minute and a half, 2 minutes, but you're invested constantly, and you want to come back after commercial break. That's a very basic fundamental element of storytelling, and WWE is neglecting that because the writers are complacent, lazy, and incompetent, and TNA's aren't. TNA guys are hungry. Everyone's hungry. You can see it on the roster, whether it's the talent, the creative. TNA right now is in a position where they have to attack. They got to go balls in, and they may do some things that may not work. You know, they're doing this whole thing right now with the Grand Championship rounds, MMA style. Some people like it. I happen to like it, but some people may not like it. And who knows? It might be a success. It might be a failure. But the point is, TNA is trying new things. They're not sticking to the cliche 1970s wrestling like the WWE is doing. They're doing something new, something innovative. They're trying something outside of the box. And whether it works or it doesn't work, it doesn't matter, because that all gets dictated by the ratings, something that WWE is currently neglecting. So guys, overall, TNA has good storylines going on right now that I actually want to watch, and I stay away from spoilers so I can actually enjoy the show as it airs on TV. There's good storylines, there's good characters, even the mid and undercard characters. There's good, meaningful feuds that don't insult your intelligence as much as WWE's. I'm not going to say that they're brilliantly written, all of it. I'm not going to say that. But they definitely don't insult your intelligence the way that the WWE does. I mean, I'm not even going to get into a rant about WWE, but it's so inconsistent. There's so many inconsistencies just in one show, not even talking week to week, month to month. So many holes, logical holes, and inconsistencies that I just don't care to watch it. But TNA doesn't do that, not nearly as much. Everyone can nitpick, I'm sure you'll find something, but TNA currently is doing a better job of keeping me interested as a viewer, and I genuinely care for the show. And a couple of months ago, I was at a stage that I was very burnt out of wrestling. I didn't even want to watch Impact anymore. I said I'm over it. I need a break for a few months. But then the final deletion came out, and honestly, I watched it. I was so hyped up for it that I even did a live review for it on my YouTube channel right afterwards because I was so hyped. And now I can't wait for TNA. When you look back at history, you look at late 1996, and you can say that that period from late 96, early 97, that was the catalyst. That was the transitional period where the WWF at the time, they went and they started changing the product drastically. Every week you see more changes, and that was the catalyst that launched the Attitude Era. I'm predicting that TNA is going to get up there really soon. I think that TNA's ratings, it's only a matter of time till they break 500,000, then they could work about 600,000, 700,000. Who knows, maybe even 1 million eventually. It can happen, but there's got to be consistency. TNA's had the problem in the past that they haven't been consistent. When they saw something didn't work for 2-3 months, they went in the other direction, and that's a problem. But I believe in Billy Corgan. Unlike all the other people that ran TNA beforehand that had personal agendas, I believe that Corgan genuinely cares about the product, and he really wants TNA to succeed. And that's what you need in a leader. And I believe in Billy Corgan because the guy is a musical genius. He's a creative mind. I've seen him on interviews with Vince Russo, really good interviews. He got to pick his brain, and it was really interesting to see things from his perspective. He thinks like nobody else. So if there's anybody I believe in, it's Billy Corgan. Another thing about the show, it's TV-14, meaning you can get away with more. There's blood. It's darker undertones to the show. It's not a kid's show. And I always say this, wrestling is not supposed to be catered to kids because in the end of the day, it's violence. There's a whole hypocrisy of, kids not watching violent cartoons or violent movies, but yet wrestling, even though it's fake, you're still emulating violence. When I watched wrestling as a kid, obviously I watched it as a kid, but I knew that I wasn't supposed to be watching it. Like, I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling when I was a kid up until I was in, my mid-teens. But, TNA's TV-14, they could do more. It feels more organic, and it doesn't insult your intelligence. You don't feel like a toddler watching that show. Honestly, there's certain times when I would watch WWE and I would be like, I'm embarrassed to watch this. I could watch this by myself, but I wouldn't watch this. I wouldn't be caught dead watching this with other people. And, like I said, the storylines, the characters, the consistency in the shows, good quality shows. There's variety in matches. You're not seeing match, promo, match, promo, match, match, match. And the matches have meaning. And they actually pay attention to little details in the show, which is another thing that's really important. Like I said, I pay attention to meticulous details. And, things like that really make a difference. All the little Easter eggs, if you will. So overall, 2016 is a great year to watch TNA. If you want a good wrestling show that has a good balance of wrestling, storytelling, characters, you should definitely watch TNA. I think right now is a good time to start watching. And TNA is going to have Bound for Glory, which is the year's biggest pay-per-view, in October 2nd, 2 weeks from now. And I'm looking forward to it. I have a feeling that big things are going to happen after Bound for Glory because that's when Billy Corgan said he's really taking full control. I think they're going to sign people by that time. I think Cody Rhodes is going to come. I think Ryback is going to make his way to TNA really soon. Del Rio, maybe. Who knows? I don't really care for him. I like the guy. I respect the guy, but I don't think TNA needs Del Rio. I think TNA could benefit from Cody Rhodes and Ryback, though. But again, they have people like Aaron Rex, formerly known as Damian Sandow, who came in, and they're already putting him in a high-profile feud. There's story, there's meaning to the matches, there's a purpose, and that's why I want to keep watching. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. It's youtube.com/TNA General, and also join our group on Facebook, the TNA Soldiers. We just broke 1,000 members. I'm really happy about that. When we started this group 9 or 10 months ago, it started off as a joke group. It was kind of like a gimmick I was doing online, and I never expected it to break 1,000 members. I haven't even been heavily recruiting, and now it's a great group, good discussions. We also talk about WWE, Indies, UFC, whatever, but the main focal point is always going to be TNA. So check us out, the TNA Soldiers. I'm going to leave the link in the description down below. Again, subscribe to me, the TNA General. It's youtube.com/TNA General. I really appreciate it. And follow our friends, The Vital Clash. www.thevitalclash.com. Friends of the TNA Soldiers, they post up blogs, news reports, wrestling stories, reviews for events, whatever it may be. Very good stuff. Very good website, so check that out. And guys, I will be doing a Bound for Glory preview and review show this year, so stay tuned for that. I'll let you know when that happens. Hope you have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care, everybody. General out.